Good morning, everyone. Paula Mattisonsierra, another episode of I think I'm frozen, but I'm hoping everyone can hear me still. This is Paula Mattisonsierra with another episode at 10 at 10. I know, right? I think it's just me on my side, but at least they have a cute picture of me so you can still see, you know? um, Thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode. You know, we're usually here every Thursday at 10 a.m. and sharing great business and life information to help your business. And I'm usually with one of my great 10 at 10 buddies who I'm excited about today. Leo Manzione is on. Leo, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Thanks, Paula. It's good to be back. Am I the first person to show up on the show twice?
Oh yeah, you are, come to think of it. Ooh, I don't know if we can count the first time though. The first time was like you were more on the phone.
Very first.
So that was interesting.
But that is inevitable.
Yes.
Well, my name is Leo Manzione. I'm a coach, partner, and director of marketing at Run Right Business Consulting here in San Francisco. We are always looking for businesses that are looking to take what they do to the next level. We are the #1 rated business coaches in the world on Yelp. We take our work and reputation very seriously because there's that sacred window during which business owners need to get the right tools, resources, and connections to make their dreams happen. And that's what I do. And that's what I've been doing essentially my whole life. This is what I live for.
I love it. You know, and so I've been excited about this topic that you wanted to share with the rest of my folks on Facebook. The heart attack protocol. What the heck? What are we talking about here? This sounds very risky. Do we have to like go into like a heart attack mode and be resuscitated? What's happening?
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. So I get asked about this a lot. This is a tool that we used to use in my consulting firm that applies very well to coaching. And essentially what it boils down to is putting yourself through a thought experiment. And it's a morbid one, but bear with me. And the names that are really gripping like that, they work for a reason. So imagine if you had a heart attack and you go to the doctor and the doctor says, you can only work for 2 hours a day. Beyond that, it's too stressful, too much of a risk. You need to take it easy.
Wow.
So the exercise takes you in more depth of figuring out what would you do with those 2 hours every day? And it's an interesting flip. Because what most people do, and many of my clients did when they came to us, they were working 8, 10, 12, I've even seen 20 hours a day, essentially saying, let me just put all my time into it and get everything that I can done. But those people know, and we've all seen it, that can be demoralizing.
Yeah.
Because especially when you have this extremely long to-do list where every day you're just knocking out a little chunk, bit by bit by bit, the list keeps growing longer. In the back of your head, there comes the conclusion of what's the point? Why keep doing that? Yeah. So instead, focusing on what are the key activities that I need to do every day and starting with those. And it could take 2 hours, could take more, could take a lot less. I have some clients where it's only 10 to 15 minutes a day, but they get their key activities done and then they can do everything else. And that's key. Because having that knowledge that you've done what needs to be done allows you to actually do the more creative and the more in-depth work a lot better because there isn't that stress or the concern that I should be doing something else.
Well, I mean, I don't think any of us really thinks about that though. It's like, you know, what would happen if some huge life situation happened? And thanks for making that comment, by the way, Steve. I think as business owners, we're kind of all there. Sometimes you just go all the way in. You get so excited by everything that like you forget, you know, what's up, Steve? You know, you get so excited by your business. You're excited about it. You're very motivated. You're on that treadmill every day. But I guess the heart attack principle is not just about you. Then the protocol, it could be a family member or life happens. And I guess because I don't have a plan for that. I have not.
You're absolutely right. I mean, it does. It ties into family. And what it really does is it creates freedom. because to business owners, that's largely one of the main reasons that we do what we do, is to have that freedom. And you're right, sometimes we have to use that time for other purposes. One of my clients recently went through the heart attack protocol, and he cut his work week down to 10 hours a week. And what happened was his fiance and mother were actually sick that week. But because he had done this, he could just spend those 10 hours focused on growing his business. Wow. And because of that, he was there for his family, he was there for his business. And instead, and this is where it's a little counterintuitive, a lot of people think that the heart attack protocol means you're just doing the bare minimum. And granted, it's important to know what the bare minimum is, but when you do it right, you're actually growing your business too. And his business grew. And then another one of my clients, oh, go ahead, Paul.
No, I was just going to say, you literally asked the question, you answered it as I was asking the question, which is like, what has this done for your clients? I mean, you know, like how have you applied it for your clients? How are they applying it? Like, what should we know? You know, share some case studies with us. But of course, in the middle of that, you were in the middle of it.
We're on the same wavelength. For him, that was really important because this is something I do with my clients early on. And this is something I think every single human being should do, whether they're a business owner or just an executive, so that they know what's necessary so that they can step away. Because the other case study that was really interesting, this was another recent one, my client was on call all the time. Yeah. Just constantly in that weird state of working, but also if you're not really working, you're still working, so you can't really rest. And we cut that down to 3 hours a day.
Wow.
And by doing that, it just changed the way that her world worked, which is amazing. That's why I do what I do. 3
hours sounds like really scary, though. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, are you accomplishing? Are you servicing the clients? That just sounds super scary to me. I don't know.
It is. And that's actually an interesting transition that we go through as business owners, because a lot of us, I think there are very, very few of us that are absolutely pure entrepreneurs where we've never had a job. But if you have a job, and Tim Ferriss said this really well, if you have a job and you do your work well within a smaller amount of hours, essentially less than the 40 that's expected, what does the boss tell you to do?
Do more.
Do more. Work longer, do more. Why not? You're getting more efficient. Let me get more out of this employee. But the reality is, as business owners, that's in our heads. And don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating that business owners shirk and just do the minimum, because there's always more to do to grow the business and help clients. But what I'm advocating is having the ability so that if you need to take some time for yourself, or if you need to take some time for your family, or if you want to take some time and really dive into a project that you're really passionate about, that you create the structure so that that's possible. And there's another switch, Paula, that's really key here. I just want to jump in.
What's that?
Working less in a day causes those hours to go so much farther. Because when we allocate that 10, 12, even 20 hours a day to work, it becomes pretty inefficient work. Because deep down, we're constantly doing this calculation of how do I conserve energy while doing what needs to be done. And we essentially then just spread it out. And we're doing 1/20th of the work over those 20 hours, when frankly, for most situations, as long as you're managing your time properly, I mean, you could get it done pretty quickly. And also with the right delegation and the right support system, we don't need all that time. Wow. And frankly, if we do need that time, then we've missed a milestone of handing work off to other people.
So where do people go wrong when they're applying this system? Because it's still, I'm having a heart attack still hearing it. Okay.
I hope.
Like, cut your work day down to 3 hours, but it's not that simple. And just cutting your day down to a 3-hour process, where would someone go wrong when applying that?
Great question. So people put too much on that list. They say, okay, well, I'm essentially going to take that huge to-do list that I was doing and squeeze it into 3 hours. That doesn't work. That just doesn't. So you have to be willing. You have to be completely willing to just step away and say, you know what, a lot of this stuff just will not get done. And frankly, that's what happens when there's an emergency or when something's going on and we just can't be there for our work in its entirety. Friends understand that as well. It's like, hey, I'm busy, mom was sick, or something happened. They'll understand if little things don't happen. So it's understandable to let some things go, but it's essential to really approach that heart attack protocol with doing just the key things that are going to move your business and your life forward the best and farthest possible way. So that's where people go wrong. They're unwilling to let go.
Okay, well, how does someone begin applying this? Because I'm excited by it and scared about it at the same time.
It is. It's scary. And here's what I really want to make clear. Just because you're creating this protocol doesn't mean that you have to implement it right away. There's still going to be other things that should be in there, maybe in a different manifestation, something that needs to get done more efficiently and can be done in 10 minutes instead of 2 hours. That's a process that needs to be done. But anyways, you get started by going through that mental exercise of genuinely imagining having that conversation with the trusted doctor, whoever would have this conversation with you, of saying, you know what, you can only work 2 hours a day. Make that the reality for this exercise. And then think to it and say, all right, if I only had 2 hours today, what would I do? If I only had 2 hours 2 weeks from now, what would I do? And then you'll start to see certain activities and just endeavors that are always worth your time and that need to be done first. Some comments there.
What I'm hearing also is visualization. It's like you really have to see yourself there, don't you? I mean, you really have to like mentally kind of, you know, what's important and what's not important also, right? I mean, listen, I do it because it's like you're speaking to me right now, and I don't know if you're like, why is he talking to just Paula? We're talking to everyone else on right now. Steven's listening. Can we talk to Steven for a little bit? You know, but it sounds like, you know, sometimes we put too much on that list and really should we as business owners even be doing the things that we have on the list? You know, could we delegate that out to someone else? Because there's only 24 hours in the day, right? But you know something with that thought, what if someone's just starting out? So let's say they're about a year in, they're like, you know, well, I can't afford to delegate all that stuff off. Some of this I have to do myself. Can you start this at the beginning, or is this something, 'cause I know I'm throwing a couple of questions at you. So the first one that I want to find out from you, how do we apply it right away? But is this something for us, a business that's new? Can we put this into place early, or is this something more for a seasoned business owner? So those are the two questions. So it looks like we're both frozen right now, Leo. So I'm just going to keep speaking until you get back in here and see what happens. It sounds like we're both getting like kicked out a little bit on this. So I know that with a lot of the clients that I work with, one of the big issues for them is usually, you know, they're starting and they need to do so much by themselves. Almost they need to do everything by themselves. So what do you do when you have to do everything by yourself, right? Do you just kind of like boil it down to 3 hours and not? Or do you wait until you're more seasoned to the point where you can now delegate it off to someone else? I think that's going to be the challenging questions that we're going to ask here. I'm noticing that Leo's not kicking back in. It looks like we're having some technical difficulties right now, so I'm hoping that you guys can still hear us or still hear me on this side of the fence. But hopefully we'll be signing back in a little bit. You know, this is a beauty, by the way, of doing a live show on Facebook, because anything can happen. You know, your wireless can kick out. Do you have a meltdown and kind of like stomp your feet, or do you just make it happen? We're doing a make it happen moment right now. So if you guys can still hear me and you have questions that you want to click in, I would love to see some questions clicking in so that we can start that interaction. So even if Leo's kicked out right now, we can actually still keep going with some questions. Okay, hopefully Leo will come back in a little bit and we'll kind of go from there. So here we go. There we go.
Oh, hey! You told me not to refresh. I refreshed it, fixed it.
Yay! I'm still
Oh, thanks
frozen
for
for
carrying the
some
ball.
reason. But so
All the wonders of technology.
and but that's what makes this so interesting to
Of
me. This is
course.
the new technology and it's sometimes you just have to laugh, take a deep breath, let's go.
I love it. I love it. I think it's kind of elegant too. I think in Facebook you can't edit that out, right? So there's just going to
No,
be a
you
timer.
cannot.
Are you frozen? Are you being frozen?
I'm
We're
frozen.
live.
And I'm like, but something, they can still hear me. Thank goodness I'm frozen on like a cute pose because I could have been frozen on like a bad, like with my mouth open. So I am fine with that photo, by the way. So, but like, so jump into it, Mr. Manzione. How does someone apply this right away?
Thank you for asking. So, first and foremost is going through that visualization. It's got to feel real. And that's one of the reasons that it's named morbidly, and it's a morbid concept because death wakes us up. It really wakes us up. It's just a fundamental hardwired thing where, like, you know what, I might not be around forever. Let me plan accordingly. That soon, or that eventuality might be sooner than I think. That wakes us up, and it distills the most important components of our long-term plan, some that we may or may not even be aware of. So the exercise first and foremost. Then two, just write down those activities, short-term and long-term. The short-term should probably be today or this week. Like, what would I assign for myself to do every day this week? And then also long-term. So I think 2 weeks, maybe 2 months. What is something that I'll be doing long-term, no matter what happens? There will be some activities that are related to short-term projects. That's fine. Those will probably be projects that will come up in one way, shape, or form again. And then there's some things like follow up with prospects. Check my calendar, follow up to emails, just boring things, but that are critically important that your reputation is tied to. So first, visualization. 2, make that list. And then 3, give it a shot. And there's really nothing to lose because what you do is you just either start your day earlier or when you start your day, you go through those activities first, and then you spend the rest of your day doing the other things that may or may not be good for that list long term or just other things that need to be done. And you'll start to distill that. And what it looks like when you're really succeeding at this exercise is essentially you start your day, you go through this checklist, and that's the manifestation I recommend, checklist. And then you're done. And the nice thing is then you can do as you please. You can spend time with loved ones, you can spend time on projects, you can spend time on yourself, but then you're done. And there will be other things that you can fit in that have a good return, but those are optional.
Okay, so go through those again with us, Leo. So we're talking about 1.
Visualization. Going into the doctor's office, being told you can only work for 2 hours a day. Feel it, know it, and then you'll start to see the items flowing. So step 2, write those down. Write those down. You'll have some that you're not completely sure about, some that you're absolutely positive. For example, if you have clients, then you got to make sure you're checking in on them. I recommend also checking your different pipelines. So for example, how were people reaching out to you? Email, text, Facebook, LinkedIn. Check those, that's important. 3, so step 3, so then give it a shot. Once you've got those action items in a list, just turn it into a checklist and start with that. And that'll show you if the list is working or not. And that's heart attack protocol.
Okay. And so
It's IV.
is there anything that we should be thinking about as far as, and of course I know that you know your own list, right? So going through the list and saying, all right, this is what I typically do in a day. This is my short term, this is a long term items. Any tips on what we should take off or how we should perceive this list when we make the list?
Yes, it ties into what we were saying earlier. Be willing to let things go. If you find yourself making a really, really long list, take another pass. Say, okay, if I only have 2 hours, how do I prioritize these things? And it's similar to, organizing our homes, going through our stuff where you pick it up and you say, does this really bring joy? Does this really bring
Oh no. Leo's frozen again. In the middle of like a fantastic thought too. It's like, no, Leo. Because I really wanted to hear about that part of it. And I know he's probably gonna like click out and come back in again. So we'll just wait for him to come back in. Here he comes. And he's back.
There we are.
Oh, yeah.
Refresh works. Refresh works.
Refresh is a good thing.
How much of that did you get?
You were really just starting, so.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh, sorry, everybody.
No, that's all right.
No.
I'm again. This is a technology. This is what makes it exciting.
I look forward to the days where well, today's the day we look
exactly.
back.
Today's the day. So you said part of it is a letting go and really getting to the point where
letting go is important.
I love
so
that.
If you have a really
you said if there was a really long list, really take another pass at it. That made me chuckle just a little bit,
I'm sure. Because it's easy to make a long list. I mean, it's one of those things where it's tough to write a short letter. It's easy to write a long one. Yeah. So take another pass. And like I said, again, you don't have to do just a 3-hour work week. What you can do is just have this as a backup. And it's something that I really recommend nurturing and developing over time because, and I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I promise you, each and every one of you listening and watching, there will come a day, there will come a time where you either choose to or have to work a shorter workday. Yeah. And the time to fix the roof is when the sun is shining. So it's better to prepare for that now, because I have yet to work with somebody where that didn't happen in one way, shape, or form. And every single one was very glad that we did this.
And let me ask you a question. My last question to you was, is this something that a startup, someone just coming in there in their first year, would this be applicable to a first-year business? Or is this something they should be thinking about, or is this something that they could work in as well?
Everybody.
Really?
Everybody. A lot of people assume that young businesses don't have the luxury of using these tools, that they just have to work these really, really arduous long days. I would argue, and I'm sure some people, maybe even you might disagree with me, but I would argue that most early and young businesses have their owners or executives doing that just because they're inefficient. It's not absolutely necessary to work yourself to the bone in the beginning. In fact, in many ways, it's detrimental. So doing something like this, especially when a business is young, is really good, because then you're very clear on what is required. What does everybody need to do at the core to start with that, and then we can go beyond it. Because what's dangerous about having these really long work days is the key actions can get lost in the fray. And we all know it's so frustrating when somebody on your team is busy, but they don't get basic things done. It's just like, how did you not reply to that email? How did you not get back to that client? How did you not get this core thing done? It's like, oh, I was busy. No, you were disorganized. And this is one of the many ways that people can get organized and get clear on what needs to get done.
My favorite internet motivation line, and it comes from Denzel Washington, who says, because you're doing a lot doesn't mean that you're getting a lot done. And I'm like, when he said that,
Denzel.
Like, ooh, Denzel. He's become like this internet sensation because he did a talk for a graduating class. And it's so true though. I think nowadays everyone thinks that, because the internet has sped us up in this weird way of like, I love that we got an applaud from Daniela. Danielle, hey Danielle, what a cute baby. I'm distracted by cuteness. Okay. All right. So, but it's, so many of us fall into that little trap of like, we need to do the big list. And, it's like, almost self-important, right? But it's like, did you accomplish anything big today?
Oh my goodness.
And sometimes I'm guilty.
You nailed it. Yeah.
As charged, I'm in jail too, you go through it and you say to yourself, it's like, oh my goodness, it's like, there were some big things that actually didn't get done today, but I did a whole lot of this, So I think this heart attack protocol lends itself very nicely to, like you said, the priorities. Are we really growing our business effectively? Are we really getting the big things done to move everything forward? This has been a wonderful education, Mr. Manzione.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Paula. And you said that really well. I just want to highlight it. Just because you're busy doesn't mean that you're getting a lot done. And when somebody says I'm too busy for something, what they're really saying, it just wasn't a priority.
Yeah.
So, I'm glad I've been able to talk about priorities.
I feel that way when it comes to procrastination as well. A lot of people are like, oh, I just procrastinate. And I'm realizing, because you're trying to educate, as a business owner, you should be actively educating yourself all the time. And I realize that it's not a flaw. I mean, it really is. I've heard it say that it's a stress reaction, because you see something wonderful that you want, and it's stressful going to grab it. So you give yourself a break for a second and go, okay, I'm just going to sit here. I'm just going to wait for a second. I'm not going to do it for a while, and you procrastinate. It's like mixed in with a little bit of fear of snatching the ball, So it's, heart attack protocol, guys. Leo, you want to go through the points again, the 3 points that you wanted to offer, just to kind of lock this into our viewers' heads today before we wrap it up?
Of course. So just the steps are simple. Visualize the exercise clearly. You're there with the doctor. Doctor says you have 2 hours every day to work. Anything beyond that is too much. It's too stressful. Make that the reality of this exercise. And then now looking at the 2-hour workday, what do you fill those activities? What do you do? So what are the number one things that need to be done every day to make sure that your business and life is moving forward? Then the third thing, once you've got that list, implement it. Give it a shot. Yeah. Try it for a day. Do just 2 hours, 3 hours. Just focus on that list and then do your other work. Eventually you'll add things to that list. You'll remove things from that list. And like I said earlier, if it's really long, take another pass. But that's the exercise. That's what you got to focus on.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, hey, Corey, how's it going?
I love that picture.
I know Corey's been talking. I know he's wearing this, what is it, a rooster costume in his Facebook page?
I don't even know. That's amazing.
Hey, Corey.
I love it.
Corey's been talking a lot about this. So Corey's been actively trying to apply this. And Corey, I will definitely be reaching out to hear a little bit more of your experience on this directly. I'll be trying it as well. I am going to task my viewers today to try it, because what a wonderful way of working this item into your workday and giving yourself a little bit of reprieve, And so, Leo, as we're wrapping it up, if folks want to reach out to you to hear more, and correction, it's a polar bear costume.
Polar bear costume. I love it. It breaks the ice.
For the correction, Corey Padnos, everyone, productivity coach.
Has he been on here?
Yeah, he's been, actually, no, he was number 2 on the show. And actually, the biggest viewership that we've gotten so far. Whoop, whoop, Corey.
Woo!
Everyone really loved those tips. And I think the other one was Jason Steinberg, because it's like the 5 tips and what you should do for your video. Wow,
Many cups.
Yeah, and so to find Leo and learn more and, be properly business coached on moving their business forward, how do they get in touch with Leo?
So it's pretty easy to find me online. LinkedIn, send me an email, give me a phone call. On my website, you can fill out a form. On the business website, runrightconsulting.com. We do complimentary sessions. If you or somebody has a business that they'd like to take to the next level, I'd love to talk to them. We are very often the right fit, and we have a great return on investment. But if we're not, I'd love to give them some tools from our program, and then I can also introduce them to somebody else that could make sure that they get exactly what they need. Nice. Beyond that, we also have workshops. Every month, if you ever want to come to one of our workshops, it's a webinar that you could attend from anywhere. And then there's also a quarterly workshop that we do. Next one's coming up on the 28th. So an all-day event, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we build what's called the 90-day plan. And for the next 13 weeks, our clients that attend will see what they need to do step by step, the projects, and it's a refinement as well, similar to the heart attack protocol, where you're focusing on the key activities that will move your business forward and holding yourself accountable to it. And it just gives clarity, which is a big thing that we focus on here at Run Right. So if they want to find me, take that name from the title here and Google it. You'll find my website, you'll find our website, and you can get in touch with us. And don't hesitate to reach out. I am here to help.
Thank you so much, Leo. Thanks so much for being on the show today. This was fun. The title was a little scary.
Heart attack prevention protocol.
I know, right? It's probably the better name, right? But your attention wakes you up because, like you said, things can happen. So thank you so much, Mr. Menzione, for being on today.
Thank you, Paula.
Danielle for tuning in, Stephen Smith, Corey Padnos in the polar bear costume. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning in for our active viewers today. And of course, those of you who are going to be on the rerun later. Hopefully, if you have any questions, please forward them in. I can always forward them along to Leo for you, or you can reach out to him directly. As always, this has been an episode of 10 at 10 with life and business information to help you keep moving forward with my 10s from my referral network. So I'm hoping that you guys are liking this piece like this. Please share it. Please tell others. We really appreciate it. And if there's any topics that's burning in you and you want to hear about it, please reach out to me. I can always find within my network someone fabulous to get on the show and talk to us. I will see you guys soon. Thank you for tuning in. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Paula. Bye, everyone.